understanding, actual yathartha buddhi, correct perception of reality, is a function of the purity of our consciousness. If our consciousness is pure, then we experience a pure perception of reality. And if our consciousness is impure, contaminated, disturbed, then we experience a disturbed, distorted, chaotic misunderstanding of reality, actually. Just as a person who looks at their reflection in clear water gets a clear picture of who they are. But if the water is disturbed, then they cannot see. So in the same way, if our mind is absorbed in the holy name and comes to the state of samadhi, trance, then we get a perfect realization of everything. And if the mind is agitated, disturbed, oscillating, modulating, fluctuating due to the influence of Rajagun, Rajas, the mode of passion, which gives rise to the worldly desires and attachments, then all of our perceptions, all of our understanding of everything is completely distorted, and we come to erroneous conclusions. So, in Gita, Sri Krishna said, Sattvat sanjayate jnanam. From sattva gun comes knowledge. But this knowledge that just comes from sattva gun, being peaceful in a general way, in a stable mind, a mind in equilibrium, is only knowledge of the discrimination between matter and consciousness. So that's not bad. If you can have that knowledge, that's not bad. That you intuitively experience that I am a conscious being, a spiritual being, and I am quite distinct from the field of activities, all the elements of this world. Alright, it's not a bad start. That type of knowledge will come from sattva gun. But actually, just as this world is filled with variety, there's also a divine transcendental variety. So sattva gun cannot give you any understanding of this whatsoever. For that, we need the intervention of Swarup Shakti. That means the Supreme Lord's own spiritual internal potency. It's described in the Vedas that this material world is the Bahiranga Shakti, the external material potency of God. But he has his Swarup Shakti, Antaranga Shakti, his internal potency. So the external potency manifests temporary material existence. And the internal potency manifests the beautiful, variegated, eternal, blissful kingdom of God. And ourselves, we're also one Shakti, one particle, atomic particle of the Shakti of God called Tatastha Shakti. That is the energy that can become absorbed in the external potency or the internal potency. Tatastha means situated on the marginal point. So that means depending on where our attention is going, where our absorption is going, we become absorbed in the illusory material world, or we can gradually turn our attention towards the transcendental world. So, this is facilitated by singing the names of God. When we sing the names of Krishna, now our consciousness, which was absorbed in temporary material activities, slowly becomes absorbed in thoughts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so, each aspect of Bhakti Yoga, whether it's hearing, chanting, remembering, serving the deity, and all offering prayers, all different types of practice of Bhakti all have one thing in common, and that is the reorientation of our attention. It is the Bhakti Yoga, all the practices of Bhakti Yoga are simply facilitating the shift of our consciousness from the material direction into the spiritual direction towards Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. And therefore he said, Vidyavathu Jivanam, simply by chanting the holy names, one's attention is moved, and then all not only knowledge of this world that comes from Sattva Gun and the discrimination between matter and spirit, but the possibility to realize the divine variegatedness also comes along. Now, our subtle body in Sanskrit is composed of an element called chitta. And this chitta is very volatile. And all our various thoughts and feelings in this world are simply like waves in that chitta. I want this, I want to do that. I like this, I don't like that. All kinds of philosophical ideas and political ideas, theoretical ideas, everything, these are just waves in the chitta. So, when the chitta is contracted, because it expands and contracts, then we feel miserable. So the chitta expands and contracts in the element of ether. You see? So ether is called kha in Sanskrit. So when our chitta is contracted in the ether, very disturbed and narrow, then that is called dukkha, bad ether, dukkha, misery. And when our chitta expands in the kha, in the ether, then it's called sukha, and then you feel happiness. So the general persons, they have some experience of a flickering happiness because they fix their mind on something. By fixing your mind on one point, automatically the chitta begins to expand. And so when you have the same amount of oscillations in a bigger space, then the oscillation density goes down. So you feel more at ease. You feel more peaceful. So that's called sukha. So everyone tries to get their sukha, their happiness, in different ways. For example, some people, they like to watch football. It makes them feel happy. They don't know why. But the reason is because they fix their mind on one point. The ball. And they're just watching it, going everywhere like this. Completely for whatever, 90 minutes. No, soccer is 90 minutes. I don't know about American football. So they're fixing their mind on one thing, just like this. And they automatically, the chitta is starting to expand. So the oscillation density goes down, they become more peaceful. Asanta sukha kuta sukham. In Gita Krishna said, without peacefulness, what question is there of happiness? So the chitta expands and they feel some peacefulness like this. Even if their team lost, but anyway, they enjoyed it. Because of this expansion of the chitta. But then afterwards, it's kind of viscous, so it expands and then it contracts again. So someone may fix their mind on whatever it is, the music. They put their earbuds in and turn on their iPod and then listen to, and so they're completely absorbed in the moment. Not the past, not the future, but right now, listening to the sounds as they're coming, one by one. And then, So, because their mind is focused on something. And so their chitta is expanding. And then, afterwards, contracts again. So, generally in our life, we have to contend and juggle with many different things at the same time. So our mind's going here and there. I have to fix this, I have to take care of the children, and what about this bill, and the credit card, and the job, and this, and so many things all going on at once. So the mind's going everywhere in many oscillations. And then you feel miserable. So, this is how happiness and distress works. The actual words sukha and dukkha in Sanskrit describe ontologically exactly what's happening. Now, along with the expansion or contraction of the mind is also the ability to think in terms of causation. So, when the consciousness is contracted, then we cannot think in terms of the chain of cause and effect very far along the chain. Rather we look at the immediate situation and we take that to be the reality. That's where the causation ends. We make a causal closure. So, an example I like to give is the example of a cat. See? If you throw a pebble at a cat, the cat will watch the pebble boing, 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 and then and it's spinning around, and then it stops, and then the cat is looking and thinking, what will the pebble do next? Because he thinks this pebble is alive. You can try. When I was a child, I used to make a little ball of paper and put it on the end of a string, and put it in front of a cat, and then pull it. And the cat thought this little paper was alive and go to jump, but then when he goes to jump, pull it again. And again like this, and you can make the cat jump everywhere just by pulling the string. Now you try that on a dog. Not going to work. You throw a stone at the dog won't watch the stone. But the dog will look up and think, who threw that stone at me? Because he's not seeing the immediate thing right in front of him. Because the consciousness of the dog is more expanded than the consciousness of the cat, his ability to follow the chain of cause and effect and reason on that basis is extended, so he's seeing beyond the immediate appearance to the next cause. So, in the same way, we human beings are exactly the same. Depending on the contraction or the expansion of our consciousness, we interpret every situation with an idea of the cause, but we make a closure somewhere. We stop. If someone makes a problem for you, someone slaps your face, this person is bad, I will slap him back. But Jesus Christ said you should turn the other cheek. The understanding is that what is happening to me is my karma. As you sow, so shall you reap. So instead of perpetuating my karma by fighting against it, let me just accept it. And it will just go down. Down and down and down. So, the ordinary person thinks that I am suffering. Why? Oh, because this person said something. Or because of the government. Or because of whatever. Everyone has a list of grievances. And also a list of the suspects who are the cause of those problems in their life. You see? And when they find the suspect, then they make a causal closure there. Why? Because the consciousness is contracted. Contracted. So when the consciousness expands, then we don't make the closure until the last cause. So Vedanta tells us, Janma Jasya Yataha. The supreme truth is that from which everything has emanated. Sarva Karana Karanam, the cause of all causes. So behind everything, there is one cause. That is God, the original cause of everything. But the ordinary person whose consciousness is contracted, they just make a closure here or there, and then they interpret everything in terms of that, on the basis of that. So this is the state of philosophy in modern times. We cannot say, if you go to school today, if you go to college today, it may be that philosophy is not even on the curriculum. But still a philosophy is being taught. Nominalism. Nominalism means that any particular object of the world can be explained, examined and explained without reference to transcendence. It was never like that before. Thousands of years ago, Plato said everything in this world is identified by how it participates in the ideal transcendental forms. The trees of this world are like a reflection or a shadow of the transcendental, original, eternal forms of divine trees. So he was right about this. So that there are universals, and all the things of this world, we identify them by how they participate within those universals. So what is a human? A human is a person who instantiates that principle of humanity. and the degree to which there's some privation of that ideal of humanity, then to that degree they are less and less human-like. So in previous times, people thought in terms of universals. And this also facilitated their spiritual views as well. For example, persons thought in the West, in Christianity, that there is three particulars: the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Or as we say in the Vedic tradition, Bhagavan, Bhakta, and Bhakti. God, His devotee, and the energy of devotion. You see? So, from the ancient times and through the medieval times, then the Christian theologians said there was one universal Godhead that was instantiated in three particulars. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Like this. And they extended that also, this idea of the universals being present in the particulars, to explain so many things, like the universal church. That the church is the God's family, and it is that universal family is instantiated in the particulars of this community and that community and that community. The same was there with the concept of original sin. That there is a universal called sin, which is instantiated in each individual. Even the concept of the communion, that the communion is bread, but when you offer it to God, then it becomes transubstantiated, and now it becomes the body of Christ. So in Vaishnavism we have the same idea. When we take the food and we put it on the altar, then though the particulars appear to be the same, but the substance has been transformed. The appearance is the same, but the substance, we only see superficial appearances, but deeply the substance has been completely transformed, and now this is Mahaprasadam. And by tasting it, our senses, the body, everything will become purified and transcendentalized. But gradually, philosophy began to degrade and go down. So then came what is called indifferentism. That means that there's no transcendental universal, but the universals just appear. They never appear separately from the particulars in which they reside. And then after that came conceptualism. And that was the idea that there are no universals, it's just an idea in your mind. And then finally the whole world of philosophy degraded to where we are now, nominalism. And that is that even the ideas in your mind are particulars, they're not universals. So there are no universals. And that's it. So now there are no universals. That means there's no universal foundation on which we can say we all have obligatory duties, or morality, or purpose. And now everything became meaningless. And once the vision of universals within things had evaporated and everything became meaningless, the only thing that gives meaning are your appetites. The appetite of the physical, because that's still there, it won't go away. And so in this way we come to modern society, where nominalism is the standard philosophy which is taught implicitly in every educational system. And the meaning of life has now just been reduced to appetites. More or less just sex and shopping. This is modern civilization. And it all comes from the gradual contraction of consciousness. The inability to see beyond the superficial appearance of things. So that is more or less the history of philosophy in Kali Yuga. So what is required? It can only be reversed by some practice which can expand the consciousness. And this expansion of consciousness comes when we vibrate the holy names. If you fix your mind on one thing, like whatever, your girlfriend, or a football, or some rock music, or something, It may facilitate a little expansion for a moment, which you call sukh, happiness, but it will be followed by a contraction. But when we purify our consciousness by fixing our mind on the mantra, on the names of God, then the consciousness expands and expands and expands and just keeps going and going and going. Until the X-ray vision, that means to see through the appearances of everything, all the way through to where the buck stops. That is the beautiful smiling form of Krishna. This vision comes by chanting the holy names. So, I want to look at from the earliest Vedic statements about the holy name, the Rig Veda. In the Rig Veda, there it is said, Om Asya Jananto Nama Chid Viviktan Mahaste Vishnu Sumatim Bhajamahe Om Tat Sat. This is the earliest Vedic reference to the holy name. It is said here, the rishis are praying, great sages are praying. Om Asya Jananto, O God, Supreme Reality, whoever you are, we don't really know you. We know that you exist, but our knowledge of you is very limited. Asya Jananto. Our knowledge is very limited. But how wonderful it is. Nama Chit Viviktan. That simply by Akshar Abhyas, that means by repetition of the syllables of the name, Sumatim Bhajamahe, we will attain divine perfect realization. Why? Om Tat Sat. Om here is the name of God. Om is the name of God. Even Patanjali has said, Tasya Vachaka Pranavaha, that the syllable Om is the name of Ishvara, the Supreme Lord. So, Om Tat, that very name of God, Sat. The word Sat means Swatta Siddha, self-manifest. Just as if the sun has gone down, you cannot find it with a torch. But when the sun himself appears by his own sweet will, you see him by his own illumination. So in the same way, we cannot find God, we cannot see God, but God reveals himself to us. Yo yo naha prachodayat. Supreme Lord reveals himself to us by his own self-illuminous nature. So here the word Om Tat Sat means Om, the name of God, is Sat. Swatta Siddha, Swayam Prakash, self-luminous, self-manifest. Therefore, the realization of God simply comes by the repetition of the holy name. Now, sound is very interesting in Vedic philosophy. It is said that in this world we have gross elements. Earth, so the solid things you see around you are made of earth, and then the liquids, water, fire, air, and ether. The last subtle element, ether or space. Now, each of these elements has an inherent quality. So the quality of earth is fragrance. The quality of water is taste. The quality of fire is form. The quality of air is the tactile, the sense of touch. And the quality of ether is sound. So the idea is that sound is everywhere, all sounds are everywhere in the ether. So, when you speak, you don't actually make a sound, but rather what you do is your vocal cords cause an oscillation of the ether which causes it to release its inherent quality, which is called sound. Understand? So, for example, if we hit this drum, then as a general rule we'll say the drum made a sound. But it didn't, because the drum is made of earth. But the skin of the drum vibrated the air which caused the ether to release a sound. So the sound actually came from the ether, not from the drum. Right? So example is also given of, if there's a stone, then because stone is earth and all the other elements are included there, all the other qualities of the elements are included there, so fire is present in stone. And someone may say, no, there's no fire in stone. But if you strike two stones together, what happens? Then fire jumps out. Yeah. So in the same way, sound is everywhere in the ether, and when your vocal cords move, then it agitates the ether and the sound comes out. Like this. So, but that sound that we are discussing, that sound is only one aspect of sound. The Vedas say that sound has 4 dimensions. They're called para, pasyanti, madhyama and vaikari. And they're produced in this way. In your subtle body, there is a system of nadis. Sushumna nadi is in the central nadi. And the lowest chakra is called Muladhara chakra. So when you desire to say something, you just a split second before you speak, that desire causes a disturbance of the prana in the Muladhara chakra. And then that vibration moves up the Sushumna nadi. So that is sound in its most elemental state, and that is called para. Para. So para in the Muladhara chakra on the level of prana is there. Then it rises up to the Manipurak chakra, and now it comes to the level of manas, mind, and that sound is called pasyanti. Then it rises up to the Anahata chakra in the heart, and now it manifests in the level of buddhi. Some recognition is there of what the sound is before it appeared. And then it is called a madhyama. And then it comes to the Vishuddhi chakra. And there it has now come to the level of a shabda, and it comes out of your mouth as what is called vaikari, audible sound. So sound has 4 levels. We'll just go over that again. The first level sound is called para, and it is on the level of the which chakra? Muladhara chakra. And it is coming from the element? Prana. It's a prana. It's a disturbance in the prana. So then it rises to the which chakra? Manipurak chakra. And now it's manifest on the level of which subtle element? Mind, manas, and it's called pasyanti. Yes, good. And then from there it rises up to the Anahata chakra, and it's called madhyama. And now it's manifested in the buddhi. And then it comes to the which chakra? Vishuddhi chakra. And now it appears as an audible sound, and that is called what? Vaikari. Vaikari. Yes. So when we speak, this is happening. It's happening in a split second. We desire to speak, and this is going on. So the sound is coming through our levels of prana, manas, buddhi, and then it comes out. I don't know. Perhaps some people just comes out of their mouth without going through their intelligence. That's debatable. No. It goes through everyone's intelligence. So this is how sound is produced. Now, in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is discussed how the Supreme Lord has put the syllable Om in the Muladhara chakra of every living being. But you cannot hear it. Why? Because your senses are going out. The senses are going out all the time, so it's completely drowned out by material sound and material experience. And therefore, the sages, the rishis, the mahayogis, they try to do pratyahara. They sit, they control their pran, and they try to withdraw their senses in and basically shut off all the senses. So when the senses become shut off, then you can begin to hear that anahata shabda, the unstruck sound. You see, the sounds we're hearing externally, it's just like if you hit a bell, then boom, it goes like that. So here, your vocal cords are striking the air and releasing the sound. But this sound of Om, which is within everyone, is anahata shabda, unstruck sound. So when the yogis, they close down all their senses, then actually first of all the Paramatma hears the sound. Paramatma first hears the sound. After that he allows you to hear it. All of our sense perceptions depend first on Paramatma, the form of God in the heart. So Srila Vishwanath Thakur gives the example that when the proof of this is when you're asleep at night and then some sound wakes you up or your alarm clock goes off. Now in the state of deep sleep your senses are dissolved, so there's no possibility of you hearing anything. Then nothing would wake you up. So when your alarm clock goes off in the morning, it's actually the Paramatma who hears your alarm clock, and then he wakes you up. So Srila Vishwanath Thakur explains, like, not with alarm clock, but he said, any sound that wakes you up from the deep sleep, first Paramatma hears and then he. So our ability to experience anything, our Atma experiences any sense perception, everything, completely dependent on Paramatma. Sarvasya chaham riddhi sanivisto mataksmiti jnanam apornam Krishna. I am in the heart of everyone as the Paramatma, and all experience, jnana, knowledge, all remembrance and forget, everything comes from me. So we're fully dependent on, even atheist is fully dependent on God in every moment. But his chitta is so contracted, he's still in the cat stage, looking at everything and saying, explaining it in terms of superficial appearances. So, that syllable is there, and so when the senses stop, then it begins to manifest. And it gradually manifests Brahman, Paramatma, and finally Bhagavan. So you can see in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Vyasadeva was blessed by his guru, Narad Muni, to realize the pastimes of Krishna. So then Vyasadeva sat, and in his mind he was meditating on his mantra. His particular mantra was Om Namo Bhagavate Tubhyam Vasudevaya Dhimahi Prajumnaya Niruddhaya Namo Sankarshanaya Cha, this mantra. So his guru had told him, Iti murtya vidhanena mantra murtim amurtikam yajate yagya purusham manyay darshanam kilam. Vyasadeva had been feeling unfulfilled in his life. He wasn't feeling complete. So Narad Muni said, your darshan, your vision and your philosophy is incomplete. You should try this. Worship the Supreme Lord through this mantra. Because iti murtya vidhanena mantra murtim amurtikam. Though it appears to be sound, it is actually the murti, the very form of the Supreme Lord. You see? When Krishna wants to appear before your eyes, taking shelter of his own, taking support of his own Sandhini Shakti, existence potency, then he appears as the deity in the temple. See? So when Sri Krishna wants to appear before your ears, with the support of his own Sandhini Shakti, he appears as the mantra. So his Gurudev gave him this mantra. And then Vyasadeva sat in meditation and he stopped all his mental activities completely. Yoga's chitta vritti nirodha, the complete cessation of all psychological fluctuation. bhakti yogena manasi samyak pranihite male apasya purusha punam mayam chattad pasrayam. So bhakti yogena manasi, by bhakti yoga, samyak pranihite amale, in his amal, his pure heart, which is samyak pranihita, that means completely restrained. Then, in that state of samadhi, he saw the form of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. And he saw his material potency as well, the material world, that was completely under his control. And he also saw us, the living entities, who were lost in the ocean of illusion. And he realized, Anatopasanam sakshat bhakti yoga madukshade lokasya janato vidvangs chakre saptata samhitam. That if the living entities who are floating completely in ignorance in the ocean of illusion will hear the glories of Krishna and the glories of the holy name as they expressed in the Sattva Samhita Srimad Bhagavatam, then they can very easily be transferred from the ocean of suffering and illusion and join Sri Krishna in the eternally blissful spiritual world. Srila Vyasadeva saw all this. So he saw the form of Krishna, his beauty, his qualities, his associates and his pastimes. But we see that Vyasadeva has done this in silent meditation. It was a silent meditation. But now in this Kali Yuga, because he's very, very qualified person, but in this Kali Yuga, it is extremely difficult for individuals to control their mind through silent meditation. Very, very difficult. Therefore, we should chant the mantra loudly. It is more effective. And not only that, we should not chant the mantra loudly just because we're so unqualified. That's not the only reason. But rather, the chanting of the mantra loudly gives such a deep state of samadhi. It was not even available to the Paramahamsas of Satya Yuga. This is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 12th canto, that the depth of the samadhi, which comes by loudly singing the names of Krishna, is so deep that that depth of samadhi was never available to the great sages in their silent meditation in Satya Yuga. So don't think that this loud chanting of kirtan, we're doing it because we're not qualified to do something else. It's not like that. Yes, we're doing it because we're not qualified to do something else, but in addition to that, it's also better than everything else. It's also absolutely the best practice. So, Srila Sanatana Goswami has written about a great devotee named Gop Kumar. Now Gop Kumar, he was traveling through different levels of the universe. And at one point, he met the associates of Lord Narayan in Vaikuntha. And he asked them this very question about what is superior, silent meditation, or that means remembering the mantra in your mind or actually uttering the mantra. So the residents of Vaikuntha, personalities from the spiritual world, told him, Manyamayi kirtanameva satanam lolatmakayika swaridis puratsmrito vachis swayukta manasi tata sruto divyat parangap upakurvat atmavat. The meaning is that they said, Manyamaye kirtanam eva satanam. We think that loudly chanting the holy names is superior to silent meditation. And the reason for this is lolatmakayika swaridis paratsmrito. That the chitta is very, very delicate, very responsive, very turbulent. And it's very difficult, it's restless and difficult to control. So even if you manage to control it for a moment and you get a spurti, You get, because once the chitta becomes controlled, then you have a spurti, a reflection of the beauty of God in your heart. If you do that, but then again it becomes restless. Oh, what was that? And also, that spurti is a private experience only for you. So these are two reasons, two negative reasons why smaran, remembrance, is not equal to kirtan. And then he said, Vachi swayukta manasi tata soto. But when you chant loudly, then this not only is the mantra manifesting from the Mooladhara chakra on the level of your pran, on the level of your mind, on the level of your buddhi, but it's manifesting here also on the level of the tongue. And then it manifests in your directly in your sense of hearing also. Now when you hear, then that also causes a reaction in the intelligence and the mind. So it says, Swayukte manasi. So when you chant, on the way up, it controls your mind, and when you hear it on the way down, it controls your mind. So now your mind is in a vice. Very hard to control the mind. But this loud kirtan, because you're chanting and hearing, and the mind is now controlled by the vibration of the holy name very, very strongly. And not only that, but when the mind is peaceful and controlled by the sound vibration of the holy name, then not only do you get a spurti, but if others are listening to the kirtan, they may also receive the spurti that you're receiving. And this is why it said one should perform kirtan in the association of pure devotees. Because when pure devotees sing the holy name, then they see Divyat Vrindaranya Kalpadamada, Srimadatnagara Sinhasanasto, Sri Radha, Sri Lagovinda Devo Prashthalibhi Sevyamano Smarami. When pure devotees chant the holy name, then on the bank of the Jamuna they say a beautiful kadamba tree and a golden jewel throne beneath it, where Radha and Krishna sitting, smiling, laughing and joking with each other as they're surrounded by gopis, Lalit and Vishak and others who are serving them with so much love. So when pure devotees chanting and seeing this, then if you are associating with that person and listening to that kirtan, though you may not be qualified, but this sound will go into your heart and also produce some realization which is beyond one's individual capacity. Even. So sadhu sangha sarva shastrikoy, lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi. All the scriptures say, you must associate with pure devotees. Just a moment can make your life successful, because that's the moment in which you have a vision of Krishna. And now you cannot forget it. And your whole life you're striving how it will manifest fully in your heart. Understand? So, in this way, mantra, the science of mantra, the science of sound has been described in Vedas, in Vedanta, and in Srimad Bhagavatam. So, when you produce a material sound, then this is a prakrit pran. It begins from the Mooladhara chakra by the action of a prakrit pran, material pran. But when we come in the association of pure devotees, and we take shelter of our spiritual master, Diksha Guru or Shiksha Guru, Nam Guru, any pure devotee, and we serve them. Now, when we become submissive to their will, they are under the control. Mahatmanas tu mamparta daivim prakritim asrita. The saints are not under control of karma. They're completely under the control of the spiritual potency, divine love. So when we serve them, we become submissive to the will of a pure devotee. Now that potency comes to us. So then when we begin to chant, this is no longer a material sound, because the Swarup Shakti, it is not coming from the Prakrit Pran, but is a Aprakrita Pran. And so the actual Shuddhanam, Krishna himself in the form of Shuddhanam appears on all levels, on the level of the Pran, on the level of the Manas, on the level of Buddhi, and in the level of sound also. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtan. Snapanam means the bathing, It's a complete bathing of Atma. Here Atma means your buddhi, your manas, your pran, your indriya, and your Atma can also mean Atma, the soul as well. It means all of these things. It also means your determination also, dridata. Everything becomes bathed in the Swarup Shakti. So therefore, Sarvatmastapanam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. And this is why the pure chanting of the holy name is never done by those who don't associate with pure devotees. Sri Jagannatha Pandit said, Jadi Krishna Nam Karibe Sadhu Sangha Karo. Nama Kshara Bohirai Boti Nama Kabu Nai Kabu Nama Bas Sada Sada Nama Parad. Kabu Nama Bas Sada Nama Parad. The meaning is that unless you associate with saints, then you cannot chant purely. Only the external syllables of the name are not actually the name. And you will chant Nam Aparad, offenses to the name, or you may chant occasionally Namabhas may come, some semblance of the name may come. But Shuddha Nam, no. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, Prabhu kohe Vaishnav Seva Nama Sankirtan Dui Karo Shigra Pabe Sri Krishna Charan. Mahaprabhu said, serve the saints and chant the holy name. Two things you have to do. And by doing these two activities, very soon you will attain the lotus feet of Krishna. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu experienced it himself. When he was a young man, about 15 years old, he went on a pilgrimage to Gaya. And there he met a great saint named Srila Ishwara Puripad, whom he had met before in Navadvip Dham. And he listened to so much beautiful katha from him. But he didn't take shelter at that time. He was just listening. But now some time had passed. And in his heart he was realizing, oh, this saint this is my Gurudev. So he approached Srila Ishwara Puri. Prabhu kohi cheta jata safalayama yataksana te kailam chayane tumar. He said, oh Prabhu, now my pilgrimage to this holy place is successful. It became successful the very moment I saw your lotus feet. And he asked him, oh Gurudev, can you teach me Vedanta? So then he said, you are a murka, fool. You are a fool, you cannot understand Vedanta. Just understand this. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam. Kalau nasteva, nasteva, nasteva gatiya. From the Naradiya Purana, there it is said, in this age of Kali, there's no other way, there's no other way, there's no other way. Only the chanting of the holy names. And so Srila Ishwar Puripad gave our Nimai Pandit the Hare Krishna Gopal Mantra and Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. These two. Gopal Mantra is never spoken out loud. And then Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And he told him that Krishna Mantra hoite habe sansara mochan. Krishna Nama hoite pave Sri Krishna Charan. By the Gopal Mantra, you'll be liberated from this world. Why? Because the Gopal Mantra, the Diksha Mantra, establishes your sambandha, relation with Krishna. Our problem is that we think we are related to things in this world. But we have no relationship with things in this world. All the things that were very dear to you in your last life, where are they now? Gone. And so similarly, all the things that you are interested in and which are dear to you now in this life, at the end of your life will take another birth. You have no idea what they were even. But still we are absorbed in that. But all these things which are dear to, they're only dear to us because they're connected to our body. Your children are dear to you. Why? Because they're connected to your body. Others' children, you're not paying for their education. Right? So, and this body is there because the soul is there. And soul is dear to us because Paramatma is there. God is there in our heart. So God is the true object of love and affection. So if we lose these temporary external things, there's no loss. But if we become absorbed in them and lose our Lord in the heart, that is a complete loss, complete disaster, complete ruin of life, ruination. So, when Guru gives mantra, by this mantra it is established. My dear boy, you are not related to anything here, you are related with Gopal. That is your eternal relation. So when we begin to realize by this mantra that we are related only to Gopal, then we become liberated from the physical plane. Then Krishna nama hoite yabe Krishna charan. Hoite pabe Sri Krishna charan. So Gopal mantra will give you liberation, he said. And then by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, you will directly serve the fragrant lotus feet of Krishna. So then Nimai Pandit, he sat and he began to remember his mantra and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And he became completely absorbed. The mantra took over his mind, possessed his mind fully, and then he saw a beautiful cowherd boy playing a flute, and he was attracted by the fragrance coming from him, and he just was overwhelmed and he wanted to embrace that beautiful boy. And he ran to embrace him, but he just smiled and disappeared. And then Nimai Pandit fainted through the shock of separation and fell to the ground. Then when he woke up, he was crying. And again he began to chant. And as he was chanting, he saw so many things. Sometimes he was laughing, sometimes he was crying, sometimes he was running around here and there. So he went back to his Gurudev and said, Kiba mantra dil gosai, kiba tarba, jopite japite mantra kaile paga. Oh Gurudev, what kind of mantra did you give me? I began to repeat it and now I became cuckoo. I became pagal, completely crazy. I can't remember. Before he was a very respected scholar of Sanskrit grammar and logic, and he had defeated but now he couldn't remember anything. So then his Gurudev smiled. He said, oh, you are very fortunate. I am fortunate also to have a qualified disciple like you. Don't panic. Krishna nama mahamantra eito subhav je jape tare Krishna upajaya bhav. It is the swabhav, it is the very nature of this mahamantra that if anyone will repeat it, then all ecstatic emotional love, bhav, will rise up in their heart. So then his Guru taught him a verse from the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Evam vratasva priyanama kirtya jatana rago druta chitta uchchai hasastati rotiti rauti gayat janmadavam nrityati lokabhaya. Evam vrata. If a person makes a vow to chant a fixed number of Harinam every day, and to loudly sing, and to wander here and there without attachment or anything, or without any shame, shyness, inhibition or hesitation, that's very important. Don't sing in kirtan like, what will people think? Who's looking at me? No. Forget everything and just become lost in that. If you become lost in the holy name, then you will find yourself there. Your spiritual form will be there, serving Krishna. So without any shyness, always chanting, singing, wandering here and there without attachment to anything. If someone makes a vrat to live in this way, Evam vrata swapriyanama kirtya, and singing the swapriyanam, those names which are very dear to him. What names are very dear? Jai Jai Radha Ramana Hari Bol, 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 Jai Jai Radha very dear to Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. Govinda, hey Damodara, hey Madhav. All these names, Krishna, Rama, they are dear to Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Swapriyanama Kirtya. Kirtya, this is in the instrumental case, means that the name himself becomes the direct cause of Druta Chitta. The entire Chitta melting. Before the Chitta was contracted and filled with rigid conceptions and the misery and the inability to understand anything. But now this name becomes the direct cause of Chitta becomes liquid. Flowing here and there on the waves of Swarup Shakti. No longer touched by Sattva, Rajas or Tamas anymore. Drupta Chitta Uchai. And when the Chitta becomes completely liquid, then, now this is quite amazing. Do you know how perception works? No? Okay, perception works like this. Your sense touches the object, and then the sense meets in the akash with the chitta. The akash is the disnyaptham. Pranindriyatma disnyaptham navaso britilakshanam. The chitta is the meeting place of the pran, the senses, and the akash is the meeting place of pran, senses, and chitta. So what happens is your sense meets with the chitta there, and then in the akash, and then the chitta transforms and makes a replica of what was touched by the sense. It makes a replica, and then you, the soul, see that. You are seeing a facsimile of the outside world, which is made by the modification of your chitta into a model of what's outside. Just like if you have a phone in camera mode and you look like that. So the camera detects the light in front of it, and then the pixels rearrange themselves and make an exact copy of what's out there. Right? So in the same way, you're not seeing the world. You are seeing a facsimile of the world in your own chitta. This is why if your chitta is disturbed, for example, if you have a very high fever, say you have typhoid and your fever goes to 106, and you start to hallucinate. Why? Because the ability of the chitta to reproduce what's out there has been disturbed because the pran is disturbed by the disease. So now your chitta starts out and you start hallucinating. You see? Or I know none of you have ever done any drugs, but the same principle happens with psychedelics. So it's not that stuff out there is moving. It means your chitta, your prana and chitta have been disturbed and this is moving, but you are only ever seeing that. That's all you are ever seeing. You see? So when the holy name comes up through the levels of your chitta, through your manas, through your buddhi, everything, and takes over everything, then you don't see the world anymore. Your soul is looking, but you can't see the world anymore. Because Krishna's internal potency has taken over your chitta, and now you just see the spiritual world. And this is how a person in this world, during kirtan, has darshan of Krishna's pastimes. See? So, here this verse is saying, Evam Vrataswa Priya Nama Kirtya Jathanurago Druta Chitta Utschai. The chitta is melted and then Druta Utschai Hasatati Roditi Rauti Gayatun Madhavam Nitati Lokabai. And then that person begins to laugh, begins to cry, begins to dance, and doesn't care what anyone around him thinks. Why? Because he can't even see them. He doesn't even see them. So why is he crying? He's crying because the holy name is showing how Krishna and Balaram are getting onto the chariot of Akrura in the early morning. And all the gopis have come from their homes and they're thinking, what will we do? If we try to stop the chariot, then the whole village will know that we have a secret love affair with Krishna. And if we don't stop the chariot, then Krishna will be gone and we'll lose him. Because once he gets into the big city in Mathura and all those princesses get their hands on him, that's it, he won't come back. When he becomes a megastar in the big city, forget it, Krishna not coming back to the dairy farm. He'll forget about us. When he meets those princesses, we're just rustic village girls milking cows, making yogurt. He's not coming back. So it was make or break. So they decided, if Krishna leaves, we'll die. So we have nothing to lose. And they all ran and surrounded the chariot. Chandravani could not even be conscious. She fainted due to intense separations, and Hasaki's brought her and put her body down in front of the horses. So he couldn't leave. Radharani came around to the side where Balaram was and held on to Krishna's feet and begged him, because Krishna, being the younger brother, will have to do what the elder brother says. So that was her strategy. And holding the feet of Balaram, she begged, please don't tell him not to go. But Balaram couldn't say anything. So she came around to Krishna's side and she was climbing up onto the chariot. But then Akrura. Krura means cruel. Akrura means not cruel. No, I don't think so. Akrura means Ashesha Rupain cruel, unlimitedly cruel, Akrura. That's the real meaning of his name. Prefix R can have different interpretations. Then Akrura, he just pulled the reins like this and then made the horses go in a zigzag way to avoid running over Chandravati and other gopis. And the friends, Lalita, Vishaka, they reached up and they caught the cloth of Radhika and pulled her down from the chariot as she was reaching out with the hand and calling Krishna. And Krishna could not even look, because he knew if he just looked, then his heart would be so broken he would not be able to fulfill his mission of saving the Yadu dynasty from the atrocities of Kamsa Maharaj. So Krishna didn't even look. And the chariot pulled away. And all gopis were standing there weeping. So when the devotee's chitta melts and he cannot even see this world, and he sees Krishna leaving Vrindavan and all gopis crying, then he's crying. Sometimes devotees chanting and he sees Smara Vilasita Talpe. Yeah, he may see that as well, but I'm thinking of another one. He may see Ragyod Keli Kutake Brajashada Sunam Jitvam Madamadika Darakatvavikasi Jalpam Fula Virali Birnalpamadiryamanam Stotram Kada Nubhavatim Mabalokayase. He may see that Radha and Krishna, by chance they've met together. Krishna has come on a boat on the bank of a lake, Manasi Ganga. And Krishna said, Utistatataro me tarani mamatarayo shaktirarohaneka. Krishna said, oh young girl, come into my boat. Utistatataro. Radharani said, I'm just a weak girl, I have no strength to climb trees. Because Utistatataro can mean get in my boat or it can mean climb a tree. So Radharani deliberately, being very slippery and crooked with Krishna, instead of taking she knew his meaning, but she took another meaning, said, I can't climb a tree. Then Krishna said, no, I'm not talking about a tree. He said, Mama Tarani, get in my boat, Tarani. So Tarani can mean a ferry that takes you across, or it's also a name of the sun god. So instead of taking the word for boat, then Radharani said, oh, what relation do I have with the sun god? Then Krishna said, no. Now prasange. I'm speaking about another word for boat. Now prasange. I'm speaking about now prasange. Radharani said, how dare you? Why? Because now can mean of two people, of us. Prasange, pra means fully, prakrista, most excellent, and sangha means full association, So that means the amorous activities. So Krishna said, no, I was talking on the subject of a boat. Radharani said, how dare you? Now prasange. Like this, then Krishna became speechless. He couldn't give an answer. Very good. Now Krishna he's so clever, but Radharani at every step she's cutting his words and defeating him. So then all the Sakhis, the friends of Radharani, they began to clap. Radhe 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 Jai 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 Shri Radhe. Radharani is victorious, Krishna is defeated. So that's important. Then if Radharani defeats Krishna in a war of words, then when Krishna is defeated, it's important to rub his defeat in. So he should become humble. Krishna should be humble. So then all the Sakhis are laughing. So when the devotee is chanting and Swarup Shakti takes over his whole chitta and he begins to see this pastime, then sometimes sometimes he's laughing because he's seeing sweet, such funny comical pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Sometimes nrityati, sometimes he's dancing. Just like our Srila Raghunath Das Goswami part. He gave the example that Rasa Leela was going on. And Radha and Krishna had been playing together in a kunj. Afterwards they came out and they began to dance with all the gopis. Then Radharani was dancing and her ankle bells were making a beautiful sound. And then she did one dance movement where her hips were moving, but no sound came. Oh, it means that her waist bells, by accident, she had left them behind in the kunj. So if there the gopis see that her waist bells are missing, then they'll make jokes. Oh, what have you been up to? So then Radhika, she didn't want that other gopis will make jokes at her expense. So then she just glanced towards Raghunath Das Goswami. He was chanting and in his meditation he saw, oh, now I have to do some seva. So in a beautiful form as a young gopi, Rati Manjari, she ran quickly back to that kunj, to that bower where Radha and Krishna had been meeting, and there he saw the ankle bells, the waist bells of Radharani were there. And she picked them up quickly, and now she has to put the waist bells of Radharani around her waist, but in such a way that no one will see. So then Rati Manjari kept the bells underneath her cloth, and as Radha Krishna were dancing, she went dancing also. Dancing, approached Radharani, and then did a dance, a pirouette around Radharani like this, and the belt and the fasten, and then danced away. Like this. And in this way, then Radharani could do the movements of her hips, and a beautiful sound was coming, and no one would make any criticism. So it may be that sometimes the devotee is dancing. Why? Because the name is revealing the pastimes of the dancing of Radha and Krishna. So, in this way, the spiritual master of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed him in the glories of Harinam Sankirtan, loudly chanting the holy name. This melts the heart and brings us to the state of realization, first of Krishna's form, then his qualities, then his associates, and then some service also, Yogapit Seva, and then afterwards Nitya Seva, Astakali Lila Seva, Swarisiki Upasana that is called. This is the gradual revelation of the name occurs in proportion to the purity of heart. So the more pure the heart is, Chaito Darpana Majanam, then the more realization expands, and the more contaminated the heart is, then the more our chitta shrinks, and we become meow. Like a cat, only seeing the surface of life and judging everything under very superficial, illusory appearances. So this is the psychology of mantra in a nutshell. Gaura Premanand.